Welcome back, everyone. Great to be here with you today on episode 2041 of the Cabral Concept, where I'm going to share with you what I learned about blood sugar, nutrition, meal timing, macros, meal composition from wearing a continuous glucose monitor for 30 days. So really, I had the pleasure and privilege of working with a new app company. They're not new, but it's new to the space on what it's like to be able to track your blood sugar literally every minute of the day. Because as I've recommended in the past, what we're doing typically, and it's still fine to do this, is use a glucometer to just do a simple little finger prick. And I've given you a much smaller lancet where you'll barely feel it. So you can do it multiple times per day and take your blood sugar. Now, again, why do I recommend doing this? Well, the very most important time to take your glucose is first thing in the morning, because if your glucose levels are not below a 95 milliliter per deciliter, and I'm not going to keep saying that, or milligrams per deciliter, I'm not going to say that the whole podcast, I'll just refer to it as 95 or 75. You're not adequately burning body fat overnight, and the aging process is actually happening at a much more rapid rate. And if it keeps going at that same incline over the years, well, you're moving towards metabolic disease and potentially type 2 diabetes. And metabolic disease is essentially higher levels of cholesterol, higher levels of blood sugar, higher levels of blood pressure, higher levels of triglycerides, lots of inflammation in the body. Not a good thing, right? When we talk about comorbidities with health-related issues, that's what we're talking about, all right? Heart issues, vascular blood pressure issues, blood sugar issues, inflammation. So what we want to do is we want to look at these certain parameters. Now, again, I don't actually even believe that you need to wear a continuous glucose monitor for the rest of your life or test your blood sugar every day of your entire life. But what you need to do is say, hey, how are things going right now? But I also want to have you keep in mind, I show on my app, and I've done that now for, I do it all the time in my Instagram. So if you're not following my Instagram stories, I would definitely do that, because I show people, exactly, okay, what does my blood sugar look like overnight? What does it look like after a meal? And again, my glucose, it's rated at a 10. That's the highest that it goes, meaning like my overall levels. And I don't say that to impress anything upon you. It's not that. I mean, I've been working on my health now seriously for 20 years, and I've been healthy and really healthy now for 16, 17 plus years. So this is all obviously a journey for many of us. I had type 2 diabetes. I failed a glucose tolerance test, which is basically checking your blood sugar for 3 hours after consuming a glucose drink. And mine did not drop below that 126, or it was out of range. And I was at what people would assume was a in-shape individual back when I was 22 years old or so. This shouldn't be. Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of diets out there. There's even more misinformation. People are telling you right now that you can't eat carbohydrates, that you should be high fat, low carb, all that. That's the thing. Here's the issue with that, is that it's such short-term thinking. Again, it works. Short-term thinking, though, what is it doing to insulin receptors? I talked about that on, let's see here, 2 weeks ago on episode 2028. And a lot of people that are very dogmatic said, that can't be, I've done this, this, and this. Listen, I get it. We do lower carbohydrate the first 21 days of our functional medicine detox. We do lower carbohydrate the first 21 days of our fat velocity weight loss system. We do it, but it's not meant to be long-term. We're happy to help people lose 10 to 21 pounds in 21 days and do it in a healthy way. But that's not sustainable, nor should it be. No doctor should be promoting that, or health practitioner for life. Because what happens is you lose a lot of the insulin sensitivity. You need to rebuild it. So what we do is we want to teach people rebuild it as well. So again, when you're looking at a glucometer too, yeah, that meal might not work for you right now, but the goal is to get to healthy whole foods 3 months, 4 months, 6 months from now. And so what I want to do is just share with you already down the road what it looks like when you get your body well adapted to carbohydrates, glucose, and protein-based meals. So what I want to share with you is this. This is what I've learned over the past 30 days. So whether or not you ever use a continuous glucose monitor is completely up to you. That's not, something imperative that I need you to do, right? Or that you even need to do. I think I'm doing my full review of the product this Friday. So definitely tune in so that I show you all the ins and outs of the product this Friday. That's going to be episode 2044. Today is 2041. But what I want to do is just share with you what you can find out from either using a glucometer or a continuous glucose monitor and how it applies from my life as well. So for me, what I've been doing lately, and I'm going to share with you how this has changed because of wearing the monitor as well. I always recommend 3 meals a day. I've always recommended that. Even if you're doing a 16-8 intermittent fast, you can still get in 3 meals a day, because if you don't, it's nearly impossible. I go through all the other reasons on other shows, so I don't want to do that today. Because I mean, again, it's so nuanced. I don't want to give you just like a snippet and be like, oh, that doesn't make sense. It takes a good 20-minute podcast to start to get into a little bit more detail. But it's just nearly impossible to get 7 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables every day, with the majority of those being vegetables. It's just, again, getting 3 cups at a meal, you can definitely do that. But getting 4 cups at each meal, 2 meals, it's more challenging because of digestion. If people aren't used to eating 4 cups of vegetables, right? That can be pretty challenging. Anyway, I digress. So what I'm saying is this. I've actually gone to 3 meals per day and then a second smoothie mid-afternoon with my workout, and I've loved it. I really have. The difference is this. Even though I don't get major glucose spikes, because again, I've worked on insulin sensitivity of my cell receptors. So when I eat carbs and protein-based meals and blood sugar goes up, well, it comes back down. It's supposed to come down within 3 hours. I want mine to come down within 90 minutes to 2 hours, or an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I never want that spike to be greater than 130. Now, typically they're going to say it's okay if it goes to 140, 150. I like mine below 130. And the app, well, again, I'm not going to talk about that today because that's not about the app. It actually shows me how long that spike lasts. I want it to be quick, not super high and not super long. And it actually grades you on each meal to see how well that meal worked for you. Now, just keep in mind, if you're not used to eating carbohydrates, if you eat carbohydrates, it's not going to work out that well for you. You want to get back to being able to eat them, right? So I've talked about that. Low glycemic berries is a great first step. Then eventually some starchy carbohydrates like sweet potatoes, Japanese yams, purple potatoes, etc. But here's what I found. Every time I do eat a meal, I mean, it's not a surprise, obviously, blood sugar goes up. And that's not a bad thing. A lot of people say, oh, your blood sugar should never go above a 90 for the whole day. First of all, that is not good advice, right? Just bottom line, that's not good advice. Believe it or not, when blood sugar goes up and insulin goes up, it turns on more fat-burning hormones once blood sugar comes back down to a normal level. You might say, well, no, because you're not burning as much body fat when your blood sugar is up. Well, yes and no, that's nuanced as well. But what you're not taking, but again, it's all short-term thinking. Like the entire industry is always about short-term results, short-term plus long-term. That's what you want. So what happens is when insulin does go up, believe it or not, you begin to restore and turn on more fat-burning hormones. Check out my show on leptin and ghrelin. That's at, why don't we do this? Just go to stephencabral.com/2041. I'll link up my show on fat-burning hormones. You tell your body you're starving if you're never getting any of those actual spikes. Now, again, it's not starving. I understand that. Again, it's nuanced. Micronutrient levels, macronutrient levels, total calories for the day. But your body actually says, oh, we've got enough food. We've got enough carbohydrates. We're going to make more serotonin. We're going to produce more fat-burning hormones, and we're going to burn more body fat once the blood sugar comes back down to normal. And that's exactly what happens. So what I'm looking at is this. Okay, now I get 4, even though they're minor spikes, I get 4 spikes after eating for the day when I do my mid-afternoon smoothie. And I love my mid-afternoon smoothie. So here's what I've decided though. I'm not going to do an 8 a.m., 12 o'clock, 5:30 dinner. And then I used to do my smoothie right around 3 o'clock and I loved it. And it's not for body transformation. Everything's going well, but I just want 3 modulations of blood sugar a day. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to do that smoothie instead of pre-workout. I'm going to do it peri and post workout. And then my dinner is just going to be about an hour later. Now you might say, well, that's not that great for in terms of digestion, all of that. It depends on the individual. So I'm not recommending this for every individual, but I'm telling you what I've learned over my experience as well. But if you're someone that's looking to gain weight or keep your gains in the gym, and again, if your goal is weight loss, don't do this. But if your goal is maintenance or weight gain and some strength and different things like that, and athletic performance, you could do this. And it's simply going to allow you to get more of your nutrition and post-workout, help the body recover. So that's one individual. For most individuals, 3 meals a day only. I am 3 meals a day only, and definitely on non-workout days. I'm just debating about that other smoothie because I love it so much. So kind of thinking about that in the grand scheme of things. But if you have 3 modulations or 3 movements in blood sugar during the day, okay, the body will adjust. You still get your 12, 14. I do 14 hours overnight intermittent fast. Some people might do 16 based on their unique body type. But it's really important. I've noticed this because a couple mornings, I do a lot of travel now. Again, recently I've been traveling quite a bit. And if I didn't have my normal smoothie in the morning with my protein in it, and it was more just fruit, it was, believe it or not, it was totally fine with just a banana. I had a banana one morning. It's literally what I had access to. I can't go into the story as to why. I had no spike. Believe it or not, I had no spike with just eating a banana. You might say, well, that's high glycemic and this, that, and the other thing. But again, I tested it. I saw my blood sugar is typically around 72 to 76. I went up to 90. So I went up to where fasting glucose is still normal. So that was totally fine. Now, did I get breakfast a little while later? I did. I was able to, but I was up early. So I talked to, hopefully you listened to yesterday's show. At 5:30 a.m., there's not a whole lot of places open. And for me, I was on East Coast time. So my 5:30 a.m. was actually 8:30 a.m. Again, I don't want to get too deep in the story, but that was basically my breakfast time. Anyway, what I found though, is that if I'm having a more of a carbohydrate breakfast, doesn't work as well unless I put the protein in there. Once I put the protein in the smoothie and I sip it over an hour, no big deal at all. And that's always what I do. That works great for me. So breakfast without protein, not as good for me, not as satiating. I get too much of a dip afterwards, and I get more of a glucose spike that I want above that 130. Okay, really, really important. A lot of people are doing high-fat breakfast, heavy protein and fat breakfast. When you look at this on the glucometer, I've been testing so many different things. What you actually see is a longer spike in blood sugar. So it takes you, instead of just 90 minutes to 2 hours to come back down, it takes 3-4 hours for that to come down. And again, I've experimented with that. This is exactly what I see. And then I'm speaking with other people, like specifically with the company that looks at this where they have maybe 100,000 people worth of data. Okay, what does this typically look like? Yeah, same exact thing. So that's super important to look at that. Here's another interesting thing that I found. My lunch, I do try to keep it always easy to digest. I have meetings all day long. I'm working with wellness clients. I'm working with my team. I'm recording podcasts. I'm recording videos. I'm on the move, but a lot of times it's like this, right? If you're watching this on video, I'm here at my desk. I'm doing research. I'm talking. I'm doing Zooms, etc. I can have the same meal at lunch versus the same meal at dinner. And believe it or not, my dinner glucose response, meaning like the spike in glucose, is less, and it doesn't last as long. Now, why would that be? Because after dinner, I'm helping my wife clean up. So we're both cleaning up the house. We clean the table, feed the dog, clean the dishes, clean up the house. We get things ready. And it's interesting because I'm always recommending a 10 to 20 minute walk after a meal in order to keep blood sugar levels balanced. And believe it or not, just the cleaning up of the house, staying active for the next 20 minutes to 30 minutes after dinner or even lunch helps blood sugar levels. So now what I did, knowing this, is making sure, yeah, I always have a quiet lunch. I like to get into that parasympathetic during lunch, but now I'm purposely getting outside. It's actually a really nice thing. So I could do the same thing that I was doing inside, outside. So whether it is listening to an audio book, listening to a podcast, even doing a call with a team member, doing a call with anybody. I can do that while walking. And that has been a game changer that did not, again, do I know it? Yeah, a lot of us already know it. A lot of us already know this information, but are you doing it? So now I'm doing it and it's unbelievable. I get a less of a blood glucose spike, and I get a better return to normal faster. You don't want it too fast. You don't want to go up and down, up and down. You want to just say, yeah, it's normal glucose rise, normal glucose fall under 2 hours. That's basically what you're looking for. 2 hours after you finish the meal, basically. That's what you're looking for. And again, I'm shooting for 90 minutes. So that was a game changer for me. Another game changer was this. If I have a high fat meal with a decent amount of protein, and there are also carbohydrates at that meal, what happens is this: slower glucose response. The fat protein slows the digestion of the carbohydrates moving through the stomach, but I get a longer glucose response after that. Why? You're basically time releasing the glucose, the carbohydrates, for a lengthier period of time. So I've experimented this again, done some higher carb, higher fat-based meals. Out of the 30 days, I had dessert twice. I love dessert. I'm not going to say that I don't. And what were the desserts? One time was definitely sorbet, and I'm trying to think of the other time. I don't even know the other time. It couldn't have been that amazing, I guess. But what happened was, when the dessert was after the meal, I had a normal meal, probably had a bunch of veggies, some fish, some good food, and then I had dessert afterwards. Everything looked good. Everything looked normal. And then like an hour later, my blood sugar started to rise. And then it lasted for 3 hours. So just to show you there, sugar after the meal, not so great. So again, I wanted to share that with you because to me, this is super important. And that's why right now I'm just going to give you my big takeaways as well. So what I'm adjusting is this. I am always making sure that I'm getting good quality protein with my smoothie and my fruit in the morning. If you're someone that's worried about carbohydrates in the morning, simply look for low glycemic berries. Wild blueberries are hands down my favorite. Cherries, blackberries, basically anything that ends in berry also works as well. My body does not seem to have any issue with adding banana as well. So I add banana. Maybe that works for you. Maybe it doesn't. Of course, you can experiment. All right. And again, one is never enough of an experiment. If you do it one time, it's, again, a lot of things can change. What if you got less sugar? Less sleep that night? What if your blood sugar was already elevated before you had your smoothie? So all of these things matter. So protein with that helps keep that blood sugar much more stable. 3 meals per day. So what I'm looking for is 3 anomalies in terms of normal glucose being between 70 to 90 milligrams per deciliter. That's really what you're looking for. Up to 95 is really that threshold cutoff. After a meal, you can allow it to go up to a maximum of 130. They say 140. I like it at 130. And I want to see it come back down within 2 hours, 3 hours maximum for most people, so that you get back into normal blood sugar, normal levels of hormones, inflammation, etc. Okay, so do I do that mid-afternoon smoothie? We'll see. Hard workout, the answer is going to be yes. If not, and I'm really saying like I need to maybe gain a little bit more muscle, okay, post-workout or peri-workout, meaning like sip it while I exercise, okay? Then a dinner would be about an hour or so later after that liquid has moved through my stomach, hour to an hour and a half. All right, I'm also going to make sure I move my body after lunch because I've already seen that if I do it after dinner, I don't get as large of a spike in blood sugar no matter what I eat, and the blood sugar comes down faster, which helps with my sleep also at night. 2 other things that I've noticed. One, with exercise. I've noticed that if I exercise fasted, I sometimes get a spike in glucose. I've talked about this phenomenon before, and it's why I want you to understand that you actually can knock yourself out of a fasting glucose level if you do a hard workout. I'm talking weight training. The other interesting thing was this, and I'm going to share this on another show, so this will be a whole different topic. If I do cardio, it's a different story. My blood sugar goes down every time I do steady state cardio. Not high intensity interval training, not sprint interval training, any of that. Steady state brings your blood sugar down. I'm going to talk about this on a separate show. Big takeaway though, if your fasting glucose is ever elevated, If your blood sugar is ever elevated, if it's not coming down after a meal, go for a walk, go for a jog, ride your bike, do some cardio for 20 minutes. It will begin to drop. It's absolutely amazing with that. So I have lots more to come. Honestly, lots more to come on this. I'll be doing another review, a full review of the actual app that helps you track all of this coming up on episode 2044. My time is up for today. Today's episode is 2041. I will link everything that I've talked about. If I mentioned any other shows today at stephencabral.com/2041. Again, much more to come. I use every single basically biohacking gadget in the world. I try them out. I test them for you. I let you know what works, what doesn't, and also what to watch out for. Hopefully today's show was helpful. If it was, please do feel free to share it with anybody else you believe it could serve. And check out tomorrow's show where we talk about anti-aging. All right, take care, everyone. Have an amazing day.